Hey everybody, welcome back to Tavian's World of Reptiles. I hope you are all doing well and taking care of yourselves. I do want to start off with apologizing if you hear like washer and dryer sounds in the back. I am trying to get laundry done and I am actually right next to the washer and dryer area, so I'm just trying to clash these together at the same time. So I apologize if you hear that. Also, let's have a fingers crossed situation that we actually don't hear any more of that high pitched sound that we had in one of those last videos, because I never figured out what that was. I didn't hear it while I was recording, and so let's hope that it doesn't intervene with our video this time. So in our last video, we were talking about how there are various different people and organizations out there that would like to make it impossible for us to actually own these animals. And so today's video, I actually want to talk a little bit more about that, because there are people in this hobby who believe that there are certain things we are doing as hobbyists, as keepers, or whatever, that is giving fuel to these different groups and individual people. And so in today's video, I kind of want to talk about that and kind of share my opinions on it, and hopefully get some of your views in the comments about this as well. Now, there are people who believe that we are essentially giving fuel, like I said, to these people by doing things like posting videos of or pictures of things like bites. And I think people believe that posting pictures of bites, there are a lot of these groups that are infiltrating things like groups and getting these pictures and getting these videos and taking them back to these like meetings or whatever it is they're doing, and kind of putting it in a dark light and using them as excuses for why we shouldn't keep these animals. Like, oh, just look at how dangerous these animals are. They're biting people. They put people at risk. The people that are trying to keep them are at risk. Our animals are at risk. Everything's at risk because these animals are dangerous, because just look at this picture of them biting. And so there are people out there who believe that we should not have these animals because of all of those reasons. And so they'll take that information that we're posting and they'll take it back and they'll use it against us. And so people believe that we should not post pictures or videos or anything like that in our social media groups, whether that be Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is, wherever it is that we're posting. Now, if you have frequented any of these Facebook groups or anything, you've probably read the rules. And there are a lot of these groups that have the same rule of no live feeding videos allowed in the group. And there's a lot of people who have the YouTube channels who will refuse to post live feeding videos because they believe that this type of footage is taken by these individual groups and people and used against us. People will take videos of these live feedings and go back and talk about how cruel and humane it is, because ultimately, if you think about it, you think about rodents like rats and mice, and then you think about snakes, and there are people who don't like either or, but in the grand picture of it, in the grand scheme of it all, snakes are going to be demonized a lot more than the rodents. And so people are going to look at the rodents and look, oh my god, look how innocent and sweet this is, look how terrible of a situation this poor animal has been put in to be killed and eaten, and look how cruel this is. This is why these people shouldn't own these animals. These animals are cruel, they are violent, they are aggressive, because look what they did to these poor little rodents, when in reality that's just kind of the nature of it all. But people will use that type of stuff as weapons against us. And so there's a lot of people out there who have their opinions, various different opinions on this, who believe that we really need to steer clear of not doing live feedings. Some people don't even think we should do any type of feeding videos at all. That includes even frozen thawed. For me, I understand all these things are very valid. It's all very important things to remember and be aware of, because it is all true. These people are out there, they're infiltrating these groups. They're out here on our social media things, just looking for things to grab hold of and take back to their meetings, their legislations, or whatever it is they're doing, and use as fuel against us. And so I completely understand the reasons behind why people would choose not to do that. I personally I'm not a fan of live feeding videos, but I totally actually understand the nature of how it can be educational. For me, when it comes to live feeding, I don't see it any differently than if you were to go on a, like Animal Planet and watch a cheetah chase down a gazelle, capture it, kill it, and then feed it to itself and its young. Like we watch that and those type of things on Planet and other things all the time. And so to say that a snake eating a live prey is any worse than that is it's tough. It's a really tough thing, especially because you think about, well, those animals are in the wild and they're doing things naturally, and in this case we're like taking a live rodent and sticking it into the situation where it's going to get eaten, and so that makes it different. But ultimately these animals have to eat, and some of them are not going to eat anything outside of live, and then some people just prefer to be able to give them that enrichment by feeding live, and it's all just a matter of opinion and what people choose to do. But I don't think it's fair that these simple things are demonized and that we have to be so cautious as to not share these things because there's going to be groups out there that are using it against us. It's not fair, but I don't think I don't have any hard feelings towards groups or people who feel that way, because it's absolutely valid and understanding why they would want to take that route, because they don't want to give fuel to that fire. But I do think it does take away from part of the educational factor of what we do, because feeding is a part of this whole process of keeping these animals. And bites are kind of an important factor of keeping these animals. And then also, I think it's a good way of showing people that bites can be bad, but they can also not be that serious, and that there are worse bites to be had by other animals, like everyday animals like cats and dogs, that give worse wounds than our snakes can get. So I think there are pros and cons to sharing things like bites videos and footage and things like feeding videos, whether that be live or frozen thawed. I think there's definitely benefits to it all. And I don't demonize anybody for which route they choose to take or what they choose to share, because I think it's all ultimately pretty a big part of this whole educational factor when it comes to these animals. It's just a sad and unfortunate situation that we have people who are using these things that are really educationally based as reasons for why we shouldn't keep them. And I don't think there are very many other hobbies that are having to deal with that. Like, yeah, there are people trying to shut down other hobbies, but not because of very simple things of just them being their natural selves, like eating and defending themselves. Like we put all like I said, we put animals like big cats on display, and we show those levels of defense. We show them hunting. We show all that all the time, even with birds and other things. But when it comes to snakes and things like social media, we have to be so much more careful, because in the hobby, those very things that other animals get to show, are used to demonize these animals, and it's not fair. But anyway, I'm starting to ramble again. It's that point where I'm rambling. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. Anyway, and I also think that Rafiki here is more than done with me. You haven't seen it, but there has been at least one strike during this video. And so I'm just going to wrap it up and let him go back and chill, because he's obviously not in the mood today. And I listen to when my snakes are not in the mood. So you all take care. You love yourselves, love your loved ones, love your reptiles, and you guys keep spreading those herbs.